Are you self-employed? Are you hoping to buy your first home or maybe hoping to buy your next home and you're wondering if you can even get financing? Are you having anxiety whether or not you may or may not be approved? Well, Harold and Sherry in Peachtree Corners submitted a question. They said, we've been self-employed for several years and we've been saving for our first home. What steps should we take to get approved? And I think what's important is for you to understand the difference in getting a loan as a self-employed borrower and a borrower that actually has a job where you get paid by someone else. And I'm not saying, by the way, that you self-employed people don't have a job. What I'm saying is that if you're self-employed, you work for yourself, you make your own rules, you make your own decisions. Others that have a job, they tend to follow others' instructions. So if you're self-employed, does that mean that you can't qualify for a mortgage? The difference really is the mortgage process for someone who's self-employed and someone who is employed is really in the documentation. So even though you're buying a home as a self-employed person, it will be the same. The mortgage process will be the same. You'll get a rate quote, you'll apply for the loan, you'll work out the best terms for you and your lender, and then like any other borrower in the United States, you'll have to prove that you can pay for the home. And so the key difference is in the documentation you provide to establish your employment and your debt-to-income ratio. People who work for employees submit a copy of their W-2, typically the last 2 pay stubs and the last 2 years' worth of W-2s. And for a self-employed borrower, you will give a copy of your last 2 years' tax returns. They will also more than likely ask for a profit and loss on your business for the last 2 years, and depending upon how far you are into the year, they might ask for another copy for this year to date. They are asking you to verify your income. The credit standards are the same. Debt-to-income ratios can be a little bit different from an underwriting standpoint when you are trying to qualify to buy a home. They're also going to want to source your funds, so they're going to want to see bank statements for the last couple of months. If you're self-employed, in many cases you leave a lot of your money over in your business, and that money needs to be in your personal account and seasoned. And when I say seasoned, meaning it needs to be in your account for 60 days. If it's in the account for less than 60 days, the lender is going to want to dig into where it came from. I think that all stems from anti-money laundering laws in the U.S., but you can't just put money in an account one day and buy a home 2 or 3 days later. For self-employed borrowers who are worried as to whether or not they might be able to qualify, number one, make sure you're building up your credit score. What does it need to be? A lender would have to tell you that exact number, but I would say you need to be at 640, 620, certainly 680 or 720 for the best rates. If your debt-to-income ratio is off, then you need to think about reducing your debt. Hopefully you have the ability to do that. Also, if you're having trouble qualifying, in many cases, self-employed people, it's not the cash down payment that's a problem. And sometimes if you paid twice as much down as you plan to, so you paid $60,000 instead of $30,000, that might make a difference in whether or not you actually qualify for the home. If you have any questions about buying as a self-employed borrower, 770-497-0000.